You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live. We're broadcasting from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios, and we're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Before we get into our next segment, which will be dealing with several questions from listeners of the show, I'd like to let our listeners know that we've got a free gift for you. We do a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of what we talk about on the show, we talk in further detail. And it's been a great resource. We've got over 23,000 subscribers. And it's yours free. All you need to do is give us a call during the week at New Concepts. That number is 952-922-2500. Ask for Lori, and she'll make sure that you start receiving it either electronically or by mail. Now, let's dig in, Tony. We've got a couple questions from listeners, and let me throw this first one out to you.
Okay.
The question goes like this. A renter was elected to the board of directors to an HOA because the person says our bylaws are silent on who can be a director. Now we have a husband and wife who want to run for the board. We don't have time to amend our bylaws before the election. Can the board simply prohibit renters and spouses in our election rules?
Good question. The first thing that comes to my mind is who reviewed the governing documents and came up with this
interpretation
of them? Because I have never seen a set of governing documents that just left it wide open that anyone could serve on the board. Have you?
No, but I can imagine that a person in their interpretation have not understood that there are a number of factors that are allowed when you own property.
Well, and also there's a number of clauses and aspects of the governing documents that come into play.
Yes.
For example, well, first I want to say I think you should have an attorney review your governing documents if you haven't done that already. There may be in the declaration, there probably is in the declaration, a definition of who a member of the association is. Am I right?
That's correct.
So, and then in another part of the declaration or in the bylaws, you may see that a member may be elected to the board. So you might have to sift through all of the documents before you figure out exactly who a member is. And I've never seen a set of documents that said a renter was a member of the homeowners association. Have you?
No, but I can see where a renter could be allowed.
And in what circumstances?
And that is, we're going back, of course, to agency representation.
All right.
Now, when I own a property, I have the rights that go with that. And if my wife and I, we live in a townhome, and so we, by virtue of the fact, are members of the association, either one of us could run for the board because we are a member.
Right.
However, if my wife and I said we don't live there anymore and we install a renter, and let's say that renter is someone who works at New Concepts, who's also in property management.
Has some knowledge and some expertise.
And we say to that renter, you know what? We're going to give you power of attorney and authority to be in our stead.
Okay. All right.
If that takes place, yes, you could have someone else who's representing the owner who's actually on the board. And we've had that at other properties.
That's a very good point. On the other hand, some documents specifically disallow that.
Yes, and that's why your earlier recommendation of looking at the governing documents is very important.
I get a little bit nervous when someone calls their governing documents the bylaws, because we know the bylaws are one section
one
aspect of the governing documents, and it could be just informal speak about that, but you need to also know what your declaration of covenants and restrictions says in order to fully understand the bylaws.
And so if your declaration or covenants and bylaws do not specifically state that the only people that can run for the board are actual members
or actual owner occupants,
yes, then
you might have a renter. Now, what about the husband-wife team?
Well, again, this is where the person, I think, has made a jump and doesn't understand this issue. A husband and wife. Now, a husband and wife could not both run together unless they own more than one unit.
All right, because you're saying each unit is
allowed one
member,
vote.
And it is allowed one vote and is one member,
yes,
so to speak. So, but does that have to be spelled out specifically in the document?
No, it doesn't. Because again, we're talking about basic understanding of contract law and ownership rights of real estate. The fact of the matter is that there was property I owned before I married my wife that I owned specifically and by myself. However, by virtue of the fact that we got married, even though her name was not on any of the documents that were created when I purchased it, she automatically steps into the same ownership rights that I have, and it would have been vice versa. So it works either way. So it's important to realize that a husband or a wife, they both are members in the eyes of the association. Now, you can't have, we've had situations where an association has said, we don't have anybody who wants to step up and run for the board, but we have a husband and wife that both do. Can we let them, but they only own one unit? No, you can't do that.
Yeah, interesting.
Because you can only have one. It could be one spouse or the other, but it can't be both.
Not both.
But if they own more than one unit, of course they can.
Okay. Well, the bottom line to this question was, can the board simply prohibit renters and spouses in our election rules? And my guess is going to be, again, I think your attorney should review this. I'm going to guess, no, you can't just pass rules about this. You are going to have to understand your documents and perhaps make some amendments to your documents.
To have a prohibition about renters or non-owner occupants, I think you probably will be able to do that.
You need to have an amendment.
But to say that it can be...
Are you saying you could probably have a rule? Or
you would have
to do an amendment?
You'd have to amendment, change the documents, and you could get that done. When it comes to a husband and wife, no, don't even go there. Because I mean, either spouse can run for the board. It's automatic. They have ownership. But again, it's going to be limited to people can run if they own one unit. One person can run.
Yeah.
We've had a property that we are managing where the person or entity, probably it's 128 units in a condo association. They probably own 19 or 20 units. So guess what? And this board has, I think, a 7-member board. In the past, there have been as many as 3 or 4 people on the board who have been employees
representing
representing this person. And that's okay. And so, yes, again, you need to know and understand contract law. You need to understand the meaning of real estate rights and ownership and what's afforded with that. And yes, there are legal documents that can be put in place that allow for someone else to represent someone in other circumstances. We see that all the time. And so that would not necessarily negate this from happening.
Yep. Get your attorney involved. Have them review your documents.